Hey Woodturners, I'm Captain Eddie Castlew and welcome to my shop. Today we have a great project for you. Now this is an artistic opportunity, but it's also a skill builder because you get to use a couple of tools. You get to practice a little of this, a little of that. You get to work off of a chuck, or you can be creative and do it on a faceplate. We're talking about a donut. Well, we're going to call it the Coriolis effect. But essentially, something near and dear to my heart, a donut. We're going to make an art piece out of it. You're going to like it, and if you don't have a piece of wood this big, there's no size limits. You want to know more? You know the deal. All you gotta do is watch. Started, we've got our one-way stronghold profile chuck, profile jaws. Now you can be using the serrated face jaws. You have to protect the wood a little bit more if you do that. But we're just going to close them down and slip our donut, our croissant, our ring with a hole in it right here. And that's going to give us our first start. Now this is an art project, so I'm going to lead off with the fact that there are no guidelines, no rules, no restrictions of what you can do to this piece. I'm going to give you an idea of something I have done and something I have not done until you see it this time. But there are no rules to this. So with that, I'm going to put in a long tool rest. Now I'm going to do something in front of you that I normally do without you being here, and that is clean this tool rest. If this has got, like, there's a spot of glue right there. If that spot of glue's on there, when I'm coming across on a pole cut, when I hit that spot of glue, I'm going to jump over it. It's going to echo on that pole, on that piece. So clean this. Get it clean. If you've got deep grooves and gouges, take it to your belt sander upside down and buff it off on an 80 grit wheel. Now, with that in mind, we're going to set this to be about level. My first piece of this is going to be shaping one side to the center. Now, I'm going to just do a reference mark so I have an idea of where center is. But that's going to go away pretty quickly, and I can always come back and check it. The speed in the beginning is about 500 to 600 RPMs. The weapon of choice is going to be a 3/8 Ellsworth grind. This is a D-Way tool by Dave Schweitzer. We're going to start with a pole cut. Oh, by the way, I'm shaping this to come down off the top. It's running pretty true. Pick the speed up. I'm going to get back over here and do a push. Zip up the smock a little. Now the smoothest cut I get is when I'm reading the bevel. Back here I get a better ride than I did out there. You see that? If I don't pull this handle around, I will fall off my cut. Don't want to take too much. I didn't lose my mind, and I'm not crazy. My mama had me test it. Okay. I want to show you something. Why was I taking my blade and pushing down like that? Number one, because when I do that, I am able to read the bevel. I'm going to go to a larger tool so you can see it. I was able to read the bevel. Where is it? There it is. I was able to read the bevel and ride it and push down like this. Okay, you got that? I talk about that a lot. Riding the bevel and pushing it down. Why? Because the bevel gives me control and pushing down gives me the best cut. Now, let me explain the 4 sticks. The 4 sticks would resemble the grain of the piece. Okay? The grain's running across like that. Got it? I know you got me now. Okay. When I cut this grain, if I were to come from outside and cut in, when I hit this, I would lay these open and raise them up. Wouldn't I? You can't raise them down. It's a thing with me, okay? Don't worry about it. I would raise them by cutting this way. I would lift those ends. By cutting this way, I slice them off and push them down. 2 things. I'm gone with the grain of the wood more, and I'm slicing it off. Less impact to the piece of wood. Less brisance, as EOD and munition guys call it. Less impact. So, my best cut is not a wild edge pull cut where I'm not reading the bevel, because then I'm controlling it with my fingers and my hands, and I'm guessing at the where it's going to go. The best cut, riding the bevel and doing a push. You got it? Now you really wonder what, you understand what that's all about. To explain what I just explained, and pardon the noise of training, that's reading the bevel. Nothing happening. Okay? When I roll the tool over, you see that cutting edge come into contact? I didn't pull the handle around, so I ran out of wood. Back here, read the bevel, roll it over. Where I hesitated, I've got a mark. But I hesitated. I was watching the monitor to make sure you could see it. Again, from a different point of view. You see it. I am reading the bevel. Nothing's going to happen. Now watch what happens with the flute. I roll and see that automatically. When I roll the flute over, I didn't do anything else, but I moved the cutting edge into contact. Then I pulled it downhill and I swung the handle out as I went. You see how the bevel, reading the wood. I'm going to get the shavers out the way for you. I hit some trash built up on here in front of me. See how I stepped out? So I slide back, come up and get it again. All the time, that bevel reads that board, and it is baby butt smooth. I want to come back to this end and clean this up. This has got to be a little curved. So over here, watch the bevel. I'm reading the bevel, I twist it, I open it, and I push on it. If I don't swing my tool handle, I will lose the cut. So here, open the bevel, get a read, push it forward. If I ever lose the wood, I just go back and pick it up again. See it? The whole time, my fingers never left my hand. You understand that? Now, over here, I want to cut that corner off. Read the bevel, come back out. Now, I didn't open it up. I did a very light cut by just pushing. Now, you can almost understand that I'm pushing the handle around. Almost. Watch the toolbar. I'm now straight to the inside. I'll go in, I'm going to stop before I hit my chuck. Now, I don't have any ridges to sand out there. I don't have anything I need to fix here. In fact, I don't have anything I need to fix on this whole face. Let's stop it. I don't have any tears. I've got a few little rises in here, and that's from the tool chatter. But I can do it. I have an option right now. I can set this up, take a new razor sharp scraper, and make a pass. Before I'd make that pass, I'd make absolutely sure that two things. This was good and clean, and this was good and clean. Do you know how many times you overlook this to be the fault of a bad cut? Really. This could have junk, gook, glue, paint, finish, varnish, a nick, whatever. And I keep mine smooth so they move nicer across the tool rest. We have this scraper, and we're going to go inside for a light cut. And then we're going to easily pull it along. Not a lot of pressure. I'm going to roll it up on the edge a little. Okay, get really good. Now, how did I get that scraper sharpened? Well, might be time for me to show you that. This is my Delta GR 450 grinder. It's an 8-inch variable speed grinder. It has been replaced by a Porter cable model. I don't remember the model number, but it's about 120 bucks at Lowe's. It's a very good grinder. It comes with a coarse wheel and a coarser wheel. I've changed my coarser wheel, got rid of that piece of it, and put a much better 80 grit Norton XXX. I don't do the color thing, red, blue, pink, whatever. Norton XXX. Now, I like my scraper at 15 degrees. You can check yours. If you're close, leave it alone. Take it over to your grinder and set your platform to that 15 degrees. Now, set your platform. Your grinder works with a wire edge, so you don't want it face up, you want it face down. And then you shape it. All right, now if I do this, it takes a little while for it to stop spinning, but I've ground it and it's where I want to be. Now, how do I get it back to the exact same setting next time so I don't have to grind a lot of steel to sharpen it? This is the Blackhawk Template. I'll give this to you free, no obligation, if you email me at this address right here. All right? And ask me for the tips. Now, you cut it out and you make it up, and this is for setting the basket for your Ellsworth grind. You know how far out to put the basket. Before you set that up, take it to your grinder, move your table where it needs to be to do your grind, your scraper, turn it upside down, and then grind those 2 points to match the wheel. What's it take? Like a minute. Don't. You match the wheel. Then tomorrow you sharpen a lawnmower blade. Then you come back to, yeah, we all have to do that. You come back to set your scraper. What do? Face down on the scraper, on the table, slide it up there, make contact, tighten up the handle, and voila, you have set it, and you don't lose a lot of steel. The template. Email me, ask for the tips package. Essentially, we have completed this side basic. All right, now we want to sand this out. Want to start with 180 grit paper, and we're going to do it with our self-powered sanding rig. And want to sand this 180 all the way through 400. Now, time passes. Now, you might notice when I'm using the pad, I've got an interface pad between them. Why? That fills the 3 3/8 inch dimension of the pad, sanding pad. Also, this has got a different density than this does, and it conforms better to some of the sanding surfaces. That's a couple of reasons. The main reason I use it is it saves this pad that costs a couple of bucks more than this one. It saves it from being burned out and gone bad. So I use the interface pad. Then when I get close, I'll pull the interface off the backing pad and go ahead and hand out a little bit. Then I'll normally stop at each grain and lap out. Run with the grain and lap it out. Remove the swirls and the heavy marks. This piece is going to get some sealer on it right now. I dusted the piece off. Oh yeah, by the way, I did do the inside of that edge and clean it up, because that's the last time I'll be able to get to that. I'm using a little bit of a pad made out of a paper towel. Why? Because the only rags that come to my machines are on my back. I'm sealing this because the next step requires a little something special, and I want to have it sealed so I don't contaminate the rest of the surface. This is DEFT, D-E-F-T, lacquer based sanding sealer, cut 50-50, 1/2 DEFT sealer, 1/2 lacquer thinner. Well, that's a pretty piece of wood. Look at the chatoyans. You see the sparkle? That's what I was going for. For the next step, we're going to add some swirls to this. Here's one I was doing over the weekend at a club. You see these swirls? And we can add color later on if we want. I've colored that one out. As you see, I was just starting this piece, and it was for a club demonstration, which I do anywhere. If your club wants me in, just get a hold of me at my email address. But we're going to do this. To do this, we have to knock it off center. To knock it off center, what I do is just loosen up the jaws a little bit. Now remember, I opened them, so to loosen them, I tighten them up. And then I pull the piece out a little bit, and I put a little gap back there. Now, watch the face of it. You see how it's wobbling? Now, if you're uncomfortable with this move, don't do it. If your chuck won't tolerate it, don't do it. You don't have to. There's 100 other ways you can decorate and color this piece. But here's one we're doing today. Test the spin, because it spins out of plane. Then we're going to put some gouges in it. To do that, I'm going to use my own Blackhawk brand tool with a square 14mm cutter. I loosened it up and rotated it till I had a brand new point up here in the top corner. Now my speed's going to be about 600 or 700 RPMs. You see it? Alright. What we do is ground the tool out, and we want to cut like this. Now, I'm going to do another one. You see what we have? To accent that, we turn our chuck over, close it back up, open it back up again, roughly 180 degrees. Now when we spin, we can see where those cuts were, but the new ones are going to be a little bit different. And they don't have to have any semblance of order. You don't want them square, you can make them round. You make them pointed. You can do anything you want on your palette. See how they overlap here? Open over there. Anything you want, anything goes. And why did we seal it a little while ago? Because now I'm going to buff it off with some 600 or 800. Let's do an 800 Scotch Brite. By the way, these sanding supplies all come from Vince Welsh at Vince's Wood and Wonders. That's his address right out there. Now, I would put this back on a flat plane. Go ahead and buff it back out again. Now, this time, I would just go to the grain, buff, and I don't want to remove too much of the sealer. I sure don't want to sand it out, because if I put a color in here, I don't want the color on the face. So I can take a colored wax or a marker or airbrush paint or whatever and color in those grooves. I can also take them over to my pyro tool and make them dark. I can burn them in if I want. Got a lot of palette room here. We're going to say we're done decorating this side. We're going to loosen up and take it off. Next, I'm going to flip it around and put it back on. If I do that right now, I'm going to mark it up, right? No. This is shelf liner. It's available at Home Depot, Walmart. This one is a Walmart. Winn-Dixie, and I cut another donut, one of my favorite shapes in the world, out of it to keep from hitting that face. Now to protect these, I have a strip that I'm going to lay in here. Now I don't want it doubled over because that'll give me a little thickness problem. So I'm going to size it to where I can tuck it in. Just wrap it around. This is where that monkey with the third hand comes in at. So it's not doubled up, but it protects all the jaws. I don't need all this extra out here, so I can just cut all that off. I have that. What I do is take this piece, slip it on there, push it back on there hard, open the jaws up. Now I'm not marking the other side because I'm holding it with the opening of the jaws and the padding. But I always have to keep in mind that I am not biting down on it or digging into it. So any move I make, I have to be conscious of that fact. This side I'm going to do a different way than I've ever done one before. You're either in for a treat or to watch a donut go flying. This time my intent is to put, instead of dishing this over the face, I want a capturing light mode. So I want a depression in this area. So I'm going to remove some wood. Now, this is early on, so we can just go ahead and do some pull cuts, right? But we want to be conscious of the wood. See the swing of the handle? Why? Because I want a graceful curve. I can't get a graceful curve pulling on it.
What you're seeing here is I am compressing fibers as I was going in. But as soon as I got in and got to the bottom and started coming up, I started pulling on fibers. So what I did was yank it off the chuck. So the lesson learned here is remember the shape of the piece. And if you're creating a dish, you go down on one side, you have to go back down on the other side and have them meet in the center. Otherwise, you'll pull it off the chuck.
You just saw what I told you would happen. Donut should have went flying, but I had the tool rest in front of it. All we have to do is reset it now. But I pulled it off the chuck. Did you see what I did? I'm going to go through that and see if I can narrate over it. If I run out of distance, I need to get a reset and get back into it again. You just saw what I told you would happen. Donut should have went flying, but I had the tool rest in front of it. All we have to do is reset it now. But I pulled it off the chuck. Did you see what I did? A couple of things. When I was cutting here, I was compressing fibers. When I started pulling back up, what did I do? I violated that rule, and my grain is right there, and I was going to start raising the grain. That was so easy to do, though. I mean, I was just doing a pick and a curve, a pick and a curve, a pick and a curve. I mean, that's no work to it. Well, that's why this requires work and dedication. It really does. And a little forethought. I didn't think it all the way through. I really didn't. That's a real blunder, but I'm glad you were here when I did it. I should have stopped and went downhill on this side in order to save the grain until I got to the bottom, and then I'd have to massage it out. So let's do it a little bit differently this time. As we continue to shape this, we'd get a little bit of a bite on this outside corner. Flute's almost vertical. Then open it up. Now if we don't open it enough, we're going to bang the bevel. We're just going to be riding the bevel and not have enough cutting edge out. So, let me explain to you what's going to happen here. We're going to get a bite. We're going to open the tool. Open enough to keep the bite. Now if we start losing the bite, you see what's happening? You see that swirl? That's banging a bevel. We lost the bite. Only thing to do is back up and cut it again. Going. So some of our lumber too. Everything's been blended together and I've taken care of a lot of details. I'm going to leave the edge to be nice and sharp and crisp, because viewed from the other side this will look like a disc. Viewed from this side it looks like a bowl. Now we're going to sand out again 180 grit all the way up to 400. I don't plan on doing any embellishments to this area. I just think I'm going to look for the chatoyance, the natural sparkle of the piece. As I'm finishing the sanding out, I've gotten my 400 grit. Done my pad a couple of times. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a hard look at it, finished out, and see if there's any little tears or rips that might show up. Might be a little line that I have to go back and concentrate on to make sure that when I put my finish on, I am so uniform that the chatoyance just jumps out and grabs this piece. The finished sand out is probably the most important thing you'll do, because if you can see it now, you will see it when the finish goes on. Pardon my back, but as I finish this piece out, and I want to do this where you can see I took it from a sanded piece, and this is the deft sealer I'm telling you about. I have nothing against the people at Minwax. They're really nice folks. Probably smile every day. But their sealer just doesn't get it for this. A lacquer-based sealer works the best. And this is a wood sealer. Now, we didn't stop the clock on purpose because I want you to see this. One coat of sealer over a sanded finish. You see it? You see it. That, folks, is called chatoyance. And that will make this piece sparkle. Now, that wraps up for a simple art project. Now I want to show you a picture of one I did just a while back and how I have it on a wire stand. This went to one of the auctions that I support. And I have to ask you this. In your hometown, is there public broadcast television? And do they have fundraisers to raise money to pay for their operations? It's almost criminal that something that teaches and shares arts and knowledge with us has to do begging. Please, please, buy something so we can keep going. Put one of your pieces in their auction. That's right. One of your pieces in their auction. Really helps. I'm Captain Eddie Castle, and thanks for joining me today as we've been making shavings. And if you need me, you just contact me. You got the address, it's right here. You got the phone number, it's at the end of the video. And you know what to get the best price on the Blackhawk tools? That's right, my website. I'm going to go back to it. I really like the dishing because when you walk into a room and pass this thing, it's going to wink at you. That's right. And I'm old enough that I can remember when pretty girls winked at me. Okay, see you next time. They never did, really. Man, why do I bring those things up?